I recently found myself defending a castle against an army of flying monkeys. Not one flying monkey, an entire squadron. One showed up disguised as a shipping charge. Another arrived carrying hidden page costs. And then the chittering, screaming army descended on my head. Now, I have a quick battle tale to share with you, but keep in mind, this Business Wealth episode isn't really about photo books. It's about friction in any company. Because when people are trying to participate in your company, even actually maybe buy something, they rarely quit because of one obstacle. They quit because of cumulative drag. I'm Diane Armitage. Welcome to Catalyst Code Business Wealth. The biggest shifts in business don't come from trying harder. They come from letting a different idea in. From seeing what's already there differently. In these short episodes, I'll show you where revenue is being missed, hidden opportunities and overlooked assets already sitting inside your business, and usually in plain sight. Because when you see it, you can move it. Let's get into it. I spent the better part of several weeks helping my favorite landlord of all time create a memoir of her amazing 90 years. I have known her for 23 years, and I was her tenant for 7 of those years, and I still had absolutely no idea of this rich tapestry of life that she had lived. This project was really a treat for me. In the end, because I had written fairly short chapters, and she had several photos for the project, I decided those online photo books were, the way to go. As they say, simply drop in your photos, drop in your content, and order the number of hardbound books you would like to arrive. And that's where the friction began. Granted, as is the story with me, as an endlessly copious and prolific writer, it was more content than probably their usual framework for a 1-year-old birthday party or an engagement story that they're accustomed to having laid out. So their whole system stuck in its hooves, refused to be tugged any further until I personally threw in the towel and hired my amazing graphic designer, Patty. Renowned for her patient demeanor, Patty gently commandeered the mule of a project, and while it proved challenging, she managed to get the project across the finish line a few weeks later. Now, at this point, we're thinking the creative process has actually been workable. Not wonderful, but we've got a finished product. And then the buying part, not so much. Now, as noted, this episode isn't really about the company. And though I could mention them by name, I will not. It's not even about the type of this company, because this applies to every one of you listening out there in any business in the world. This is about friction, because it wasn't one giant problem that happened. It was the accumulation of small ones, relentless, swooping, flying monkeys, an army of them. One monkey, fine. You swat him away. 2 monkeys, somewhat annoying. But by the time the economy shipping monkey is joined by the hidden page pricing monkey, who then calls in the weird credit card monkey, who then recruits the 3rd customer service chat monkey, you're no longer buying a simple photo book. You're defending the castle, possibly even the entire kingdom. Quick summary. A holiday promotion offered free shippings on orders over a certain amount. Awesome, except the free shipping only applied to their economy shipping option, which wasn't the default selection. If you wanted the standard shipping, which was the default selection, and what most people would reasonably check, most people would also reasonably expect a week to wait for their treasured finished product. But if you went with standard shipping, the cost jumped significantly. Stick with free shipping, and now you wait, not for a week, but for nearly a month for the wagon train of mules to show up with your finished product. So let's call that one friction point. Then came the pricing structure. The base book included 20 pages. That sounded reasonable until you realize that that's only 10 spreads, possibly workable for a 1-year-old's birthday party, as long as you didn't hire the balloon twister to create, those giraffes and the princess crowns and the pirate swords and a 6-foot octopus that might require photographic evidence. But add more memories, more photos, and more of a very engaging timeline tale from a 90-year-old woman, and suddenly you're paying nearly $2 per page for every extra page. Enter flying monkey number 2. Even better, there was no way to actually estimate the true cost of the book until after you had completed the entire project. So weeks of work, hours of emotional investment, and then the real pricing picture begins to emerge. That's not just another friction point. That is classic bait and switch mode. It is a dastardly way to treat one's fellow human beings. Typically, when I'm confronted with bait and switch, which is way more often in a day than most of us even realize, I clock out. Peace out, done. Bait and switch methodology never, ever earns my business. And the worst part about this, they have you cornered because they know you've invested too many arduous emotional hours bringing this beautiful project to life. You can't abandon ship now. And why must you continue to swing at these relentless monkeys? Because you've never been allowed to print even a draft copy with their company name stamped all over every page. So you would have to recreate the entire project from the ground up. As I say, a horrible way to treat your fellow human beings. That's like pirates acting without even a pirate code. And yet it was only the beginning of what I horrifyingly began to see as the flying monkey army arriving in formation. And at this point, I started with the AI chatbot to complain. And as you are all familiar now with chat AI in place of a human, you probably have a good idea of what kind of blood I had to give and promises I had to make to send glowing references out about them on Google Business before they would allow me to chat with a real human. This conversation with the real human went on in chat for nearly 2 hours. Because after finally acquiescing and giving me a secret code to bring this project back within $100 of the initial all-in estimate plus free shipping they promised, then came checkout time. There I lay on the cobblestones, having been driven from my castle towers by the flying monkey squadron, and I'm minus several quarts of blood that I gave to earn my secret code, and I could not enter her credit card information to have it billed and sent to her. Somehow, despite the fact that I had started this whole project significantly healthier and of robust spirit, I started this whole project by originally creating my unique login instead of letting Facebook and Google fill in all the blanks. It somehow was only connecting my usual forms of payment methods, though I had never entered them before in this company. I could ship the books to my dear 90-year-old. I could not, however, use her card to pay for it. Now, you can tell me all day, this is a security measure. Right. But as Bob Proctor used to quip, it's a sales prevention tactic. To escape the kingdom of flying monkeys, my only option was to pay for the entire, greatly inflated order myself. The problem is that the company probably considers that a successful transaction. I do not. I will never return. Now, you have transformed a potentially delighted customer into a reluctant customer, even a resentful customer. And that's where most businesses are only looking at one side of the coin, the loyalty coin. They think loyalty is created through delight moments. True, very correct. Loyalty, though, is importantly created through the absence of unnecessary friction, too. Most businesses measure clicks, conversions, transactions, page views. But what prospects and customers are actually spending is emotional energy. And every single friction point consumes emotional energy. If you want more loyalty, more referrals, more repeat business, start looking at the emotional energy Richter scale that you have created. Start removing the unnecessary friction. Because the final emotional state becomes the memory assigned to the brand. Let me see if I can remember that because that's good. Think about that. The final emotional state becomes the memory assigned to the brand. This applies everywhere. restaurants, hotels, membership programs, online programs, coaching businesses, apps, brick and mortar retail, e-commerce retail, service businesses, customer service departments. When you think you might be collecting revenue, you might actually be spending trust. Customers rarely have left because of the big thing. They usually leave because of the flying monkeys. The endless parade of little things that just keep dive bombing, draining enthusiasm, draining momentum, trust and patience, and emotional energy. And when the customer leaves, they often can't even tell you which monkey did it. Friction is rarely fatal. It's cumulative.